Many have heard about labor violations in factories making Apple products. Many have also heard that these factories belong to Hong Kong or Taiwan-owned companies. But CLW's investigations have revealed that U.S.-owned factories producing for Apple are also engaged in Chinese worker abuse. In Wuxi, China, a factory called Jabil Greenpoint is owned by Jabil Circuit, a U.S.-owned publicly traded company with revenue of over $17 billion in 2012. Jabil Greenpoint makes the so-called cheap iPhone for Apple. A typical worker at Jabil Greenpoint must stand for most of her 12-hour shift, including during 30 minutes of daily unpaid overtime meetings. She will accumulate 69 hours of work per week, in excess of the overtime limits set out by Jabil and Apple codes of conduct, and 20 hours in excess of Chinese legal limits. She is supposed to fill an iPhone cover production quota of 90 units every hour, even if it means violating the standard operating procedures put in place to protect her. But she might not even understand those procedures or other safety information, because in the 2 hours of training that she received before taking her position on the production line, relevant information was breezed over, and no one actually checked to ensure that this worker learned anything. After trying her best to meet quotas for 4 hours, our worker has 30 minutes for a lunch break. But after waiting in line for security checkpoints, the long walk to the cafeteria, and another line to grab food, she is only left with 5 minutes to eat before rushing back to the production line. After her shift ends, our worker must attend another unpaid meeting before taking a shuttle bus back to her dorm, 14 hours after she left in the morning. But exhausted from standing all day long, she just wants to sleep.
When I got out of bed at 6 p.m. for my evening shift, my legs seemed to be loaded with blood. While I was trying to sleep in the dull noon, some of the day shift workers living in my noon were making a lot of noise, so I didn't get a good sleep. Luckily, only 3 other workers in my dull noon also had 8 p.m. evening shift, so there was no need to wait to use the sink. At around 6:50 p.m., I got on the bus. Since my sleep in the daytime was not really good, I really needed to get as much sleep as possible on the bus. Otherwise, I would not be able to stand up for the entire 12-hour shift this night. It's almost 7:25 when the shuttle arrived at the factory. It took me 10 minutes to get to the place where I had to clock in. Luckily, not many people were waiting in line. I entered the workshop and joined the morning meeting at exactly 7:45. My job was to put cheap iPhone covers, which had already gone through injection molding, into engraving machines to undergo polishing. It seemed simple, but it had to be repeated over and over again. Also, because of my lack of sleep in the morning, I kept drifting off. The first hour was not bad. I was only 3 units short of the 90 unit per hour quota, but I started to feel drowsy in the second hour. Technicians found some faults in products processed by the machine, so they frequently came to adjust the machine, which gave me a little time to talk with them. Although we just had 2 to 3 minutes each time, workers cannot talk to one another during work, and I finally had someone to talk to. Because I was behind on the quota, I was highly focused and made every effort to catch up, but at most I could only produce about 93 units per hour. During meal times, I took turns working and going to eat with another co-worker, as is required by the factory, and my productivity dropped because I was operating 2 machines at the same time. After several hours of standing work, once I sat down for a meal, I really didn't feel like standing up again. It felt so good to have a stool to sit on. I did not even want to wait in line to get the food. It's 8 a.m. when I cleaned up and finished production. Just as when we came to work, we were called together for a meeting and waited in line for a security check. It's 8:13 in the morning before I went downstairs. The sun had risen high up in the sky, and the temperature was also high. Under the summer sun, we got on the factory shuttle bus at almost 8:30. It was until the bus arrived at the dormitory that I was awoken by people getting off. Once I got back to my noon, I hit the bed and didn't feel like moving. I finished my shower as quickly as possible, leaving all the laundry to do during the weekend. The most important thing to me was to get sleep, otherwise I would have broken down.
For more information on the labor violations of this U.S.-owned company making iPhone parts in China, you can go to our website, www.chinalaborwatch.org, and look for the report titled Chinese Workers Exploited by U.S.-Owned iPhone Supplier.